Okay, I think we can get things started then. Again, this is Bob Coppage, President, CEO, Grand Poobah, whatever, of Simplex-IT. We're located up in Hudson, Ohio, which is between Cleveland and Akron, and this is our first of our monthly series of webinars dealing specifically with project management and project management in the small medium business. So we think that's going to be a good space for us to be in. And the actual work is going to be done by Patti Smerk. And Patti is joining us recently. She's a PMP and has all the other certs that you see after her name. And she is heading up our new practice specifically in project management. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to provide resources for companies to better improve their own project management. So it's not a question or it's not an issue where we're trying to actually do the consulting, but really engage in making it better and using the tools better. So that's our title. Patti, if you can move the slide. Cool. We are a Microsoft partner. We have all these wonderful certificates. Isn't this great? Blah, blah, blah. Quite honestly, that's our blah, blah, blah slide. Most of our practice for Simplex-IT is actually in doing managed services in the IT infrastructure and the data infrastructure. Okay, yeah, we can move on to the next. And one of the things that we do is we do a lot of free webinars, and these are all about really just adding value. You just have to listen to me for a few seconds up front. These are the topics. Today, of course, is the introduction to MS Project Online. We're then going to be doing introduction to PowerPoint, which will be Michelle Bobola will actually be running that one. And then Project Management 101 on December 18th. And then in January, we'll be doing using data in Excel, and then project scheduling best practices. So we alternate each month. We have both an office webinar, and we also have project and project management webinars. So, okay. Go next slide. And we've also got actually luncheonars, which are free if you're in Northeast Ohio, but we broadcast those online as well. And December will be our 4th annual Geek Raffle. We let our guys go out to Think Geek, they buy stuff, and we raffle it off for a good cause. I don't think we're going to broadcast that one live. But then on January 21st, we have our IT Trends for 2015. This will be, I think, the 5th year where we've had the luncheonar, where the January we talk about what's going on there. So all of those are free. You will be added to our newsletter, which you're welcome to subscribe out of. But again, we try to share our knowledge, share the value from that standpoint, and feel absolutely free to join in and take part. And I think that is pretty much the information that I have. And so, Patti, I'll just kick it over to you.
Okay, thanks, Bob. Good afternoon, everyone. The purpose of the webinar today is to talk about Microsoft Project, Project Online, Project Web Access, basically all the components that Microsoft offers for their project management solutions. So we'll discuss how all of these components work together to provide companies with a robust, cost-effective project management solution. So before we get started with all those details, I just wanted to start with a high-level overview of each one of these pieces of software or tools, if you will. The first one I'd like to start with actually is Microsoft Project, because I think this is the one that a lot of folks are familiar with. So this is the traditional, Microsoft Project. It's been around for years. We use it to create project schedules. On my slide here, we're probably looking at the middle piece, so I apologize for not going in order. I should have rearranged them. But Project Professional it's used for scheduling projects. So again, it's been around forever. You basically take a project, whether it's building a house or painting a room or upgrading your software, what have you. You can take that project and break it down into work packages and individual tasks. And Microsoft Project enables you to be able to sequence them. You can add resources to those tasks, track the actual status of the tasks, who's doing the work, if it's behind schedule, ahead schedule, what have you. There's some great statusing tools there. And then once you've got some progress on your project, there's some great views and reports that'll help you keep on top of the progress throughout the entire project life cycle. So Project is a great tool. Like I said, it's been around longer than these other newer tools that we'll talk about in a moment. But the one area where Project doesn't offer a lot of features is when it comes to managing multiple projects. So Microsoft Project is fantastic for scheduling one project. If you've got multiple projects, then it gets a little tricky. Each project has a separate schedule, if you will. So there aren't many effective ways to sort of link those together. Think of it in Microsoft Word. If you had to write a book in Microsoft Word, but every chapter needed to be a separate Word file. That's kind of how Microsoft Project does it. Now, there are some ways around that with master projects, but there's pros and cons to that as well. So again, Project really good for managing one project. And actually, this is where Project Online comes in, is when you want to start to be able to look at and integrate multiple projects. Before I move on to that, though, there's a couple pieces of Microsoft Project Pro that I wanted to talk about. And again, we're looking at the middle section in this slide here. So traditionally, we always had Microsoft Project Pro. You can buy a license from, wherever, Best Buy if you wanted to, and you could have Microsoft Project on your desktop and manage your projects. Now there's a piece that actually works with this Project Online and Office 365. So by using the same, very similar software, you also have all of the integrated capabilities with the Office Online 365 and the Project Online environment. So that takes us over to Project Online. And Project Online is very similar to Microsoft Project Pro. Project Online is the cloud-based version of Project and Project Server. So for those of you familiar with Project Server, you may remember that it's very costly to implement. The software is expensive. It requires expensive hardware. It requires usually technical support or a consultant to implement and roll it out. So traditionally, we've seen Project Server at large companies that are very heavily focused on project management and have a very high level of project management maturity throughout their organizations. With the onset of Project Online, though, it now is more affordable, it's easier to implement, and so it's a solution that's attractive to more organizations than just the large project management houses. So with Project Online, organizations can see their overall status of their projects, how the projects relate to one another, and how they're dependent on one another, which is huge. If I'm working on a project to build a piece of machinery out in my warehouse, but the software for that machine is being written in another project, I need to possibly be able to see where those dependencies are. So Project Online allows me to make those cross-project dependencies viewable. So you can see where those projects are scheduled, when they're scheduled to start, finish, how they relate to each other. You can see other information as well, not just the project schedules. And this again is where Project Online goes one step beyond Microsoft Project. So Microsoft Project, again, you're creating a project schedule. With Project Online, you can see lots of different project information. So you can see resource information. You can have a project workspace where you can store things like your project calendar, your list of risks, issues, perhaps some drawings. If you're working in construction, you may have some drawings that you want to upload and have in a central location. Whatever you need, you can customize that project workspace to fit your needs. A great analogy I like to use is the project schedule is kind of like your house, and the project workspace is sort of like your shed or your garage. So you live and breathe in your project schedule. That's what you use every day, but you still have very important tools that you need to have access to in your garage or in your shed, and that's where the project workspaces come in. So it's a great collaboration tool. You can do simple things such as adding tasks and assigning resources, making changes to the project, reordering the project. All of those capabilities are available in Project Online. So again, it's very similar to Project in the functionality of scheduling, but you also get all these other great benefits as far as managing multiple projects, tracking timesheets, and what have you. So if you're a project manager or a project scheduler, you actually will have the option of performing tasks in either tool. You may prefer Microsoft Project Professional on your desktop because that's what you're familiar with, and that's great. It integrates perfectly with Project Online. Or you may prefer Project Online. So if you're working in Project Online and you're looking at your portfolio of all your different projects and you realize you need to make a quick change, maybe a resource change, it's very easy to do in Project Online. So I actually use both of them equally. I like to work in Microsoft Project Pro for building out my large project schedules, but then if I'm in Online and I need to make a quick change, then I know I can do that very easily without having to close out of that and opening up the schedule in another piece of software. So for the PM role, it really is a preference because you may have both tools. Not every role on your project team will have that option, though. The PM role is probably the only one that will have the opportunity to use Microsoft Project or Project Online. The reason I say this is the last option there at the bottom, Project Lite. So Project Lite is a web-based companion tool for Project Online and Project Pro for Office 365. So it's a companion tool for team members on your project. So if you're a team member, a resource working on a task, or even a manager or an executive requiring status updates, you might be able to take advantage of Project Lite. Project Lite is a cloud-based solution. It's used for project correspondence and statusing. Oh, excuse me, I think I'm catching a winter cold. So team members and resources can log on, view the entire project schedule, and then also they have a custom task list from their view. So they can see the entire project, but also they can switch views to just see a list of tasks that just pertain to them. And the nice thing about that list is they can see tasks across multiple projects. So if I'm a team member working on many projects, I have basically a personal landing page. I can see all those projects and I can see all my tasks on those projects. And then from there I can also submit status updates to my project manager. And that's a really nice feature too, because the project manager then can accept or reject those updates. And if they accept them, they're automatically integrated and updated in the project schedule. So the project manager doesn't have to do any manual entry at all. If they're rejected, then obviously the project schedule is not updated and a message is sent back to the resource. So it's a great cost-saving feature. Project Lite, I believe, I hate quoting dollars because sometimes they change on me, but I believe Project Lite is around $7 a month, whereas Project Online I think is $33 and Project Pro is $25, or vice versa. So if you've got resources that truly only need to view the project schedule and look at their tasks and submit status updates, the $7 Project Lite is a huge cost savings for organizations. For the demo, I wanted to start in Microsoft Project. So I'll start in Project and then I'll show you a little bit about Project Online. What I have open here on the screen is a Microsoft Project schedule. It's actually one of their templates, but I've customized it a little bit. And I wanted you to be able to see what it looked like in Project and then what it's going to look like in Project Online. So in Project, you can see I've got my list of tasks. Okay. I've got the duration of those tasks, my start and finish date, any predecessors or linkages, and then the resources working on those tasks. Okay. And you can see I've got some real people. I've got Bob and myself. And then I also have some, you could consider them maybe teams or generic resources, resources that maybe aren't a specific person working on them. So an application architect technician, or somebody, an acceptor, or quality assurance manager. So these might not be people that I know who specifically is going to be doing that task, but I know that this generic team is going to work on it. So I like to, as a best practice, always assign it to a specific person if I know that person. I think it just increases accountability, but oftentimes we don't have that luxury, so we have to use generic resources. So with that said, you can use either. The nice thing about Project is there's many different views. We'll talk about this in detail in another webinar, but lots of different views. This is one of the most common, though. This is just your typical Gantt chart view. So I've got my list of tasks over here on the left. On the right, I have my Gantt chart where I can see my Gantt bars for each task. I can see when my tasks are starting and stopping. And then these ones that look like just the little black lines with the legs pointing downward are just my summary tasks. So this shows that, you know, this develop project charter is my summary task, and it contains all of these tasks below it. Project is nice because I can zoom in and zoom out. So depending on the duration of my project, I may want to see things, you know, in a monthly view, or I may want to see things in an hourly view, depending on your project. So it just depends on on what you're using it for. Like I said, there's a lot of different views in Project, but I just wanted you to see what just this main view would look like, so you can kind of get a visual idea of what a project schedule looks like in Microsoft Project. And then I'd like to switch over to Project Online. So I'm just going to go into Internet Explorer, and right now what you're looking at is just the home page for the Project web application. So Project Online actually uses what's called Project Web App. It's just the web interface to all of your project data. Okay, so it starts out with just this home page, this landing page, where there's a couple shortcuts for me along the top. I can create or import projects. I can get information because I'm new to Project Online. I can download Project Pro. I can look at reports and so on. And then over on the left, there's what's called the Quick Launch. So here I can easily navigate to my projects. I can look at my list of task approvals or rejections that I have pending. I can look at my tasks, the tasks that I'm a team member on. I can look at resource reports and information, and then my generic reports category where I can look at project reports. And that'll probably be another topic for a future webinar because there's a lot of information there to talk about. So if I wanted to see my list of projects, I'm just going to click on the projects hyperlink in the Quick Launch. I could also click on the project shortcut with the creator import, but I used the shortcut in the Quick Launch, and this shows me in Project Web App, it shows me my project center. So I tried to clean this up a little bit so there wasn't a lot of information to look at. But here you would see all the projects that you have in Project Online or in Project Web App. So these are all the projects that are going on, all my sample projects that we created. I can see a list by project name. I can see when they're starting and when they're scheduled to finish, the % complete, and then some other information, the work and the duration, who owns the project, and so on. These individual columns can be so customized that what you see here, if that's not what you need, or if you want, you know, let's say you don't really like % complete there, but you'd rather have, oh, I don't know, when it was last published, you want to switch it. We can do that very easily. So there's a lot of information sort of hiding in the background. Over on the right, you see a Gantt chart view. This is very similar to what you had in Microsoft Project. But remember, in Microsoft Project, you saw the task bars for the individual tasks. In Project Web App, you see the bars for the individual projects. So notice these are each individual projects that we have going on at the same time. And it's very nice because as an organization, I can sit back and look and say, okay, I see that I'm going to have some availability maybe to start another project probably in the middle of 2015. But until then, I look like I'm pretty much, I've got a lot going on. I don't know if I have the resources to do that. So it's a very quick, very high-level overview of everything that's going on project-wise. You'll notice that there's a gray bar within the blue bar, and that just represents the % complete of that project. So you can see here I've got one that's running a little bit late. It's, hasn't had any work on it since August, and then I've got some here that are doing a little bit better. Okay. Another nice thing about Project Web App is that I can click on a project and see the entire project schedule. So a lot of times people will ask me, what's a good way to communicate my project information? Everybody on my project team doesn't have Microsoft Project, therefore I can't send them the files because they don't have software to open it, and I'm tired of creating PDFs for them every week or exporting to Excel. So this is a great way of communicating project information. For $7 a month. They can have access to all of these views. And keep in mind, all of these views are completely customizable, so it's endless with the amount of reports and views that you can create. I'm just resizing a couple columns and views here just to make it easier to view. And you can see here how similar this looks to what we saw in Microsoft Project. I have my same tasks, my same summary tasks. The Gantt bars might be formatted a little bit differently, but that's just a formatting issue. I shouldn't say issue, it's a formatting choice or decision. How your Gantt bars look are completely up to you. It's just like formatting text. You can format them however you'd like. But here, as just a project resource, I can see everything in my project schedule. Now, another nice thing about Project Web App, in addition to looking at the list of projects, drilling down and looking at the project details, I can also take advantage of what I referred to earlier as my personal dashboard. It's actually the tasks view. So the tasks view, if I click on tasks, will take me to a view of just the tasks that I have assigned to me. Project Web App is very dependent on your personal credentials. So I'm signed in as myself, as Patti Smerk, and these are the tasks that are assigned to me. Now, if you log in, you'll see something different. If Bob logs in, he'll see something different. He'll see his tasks in his projects. Okay? But I love this because so often when we're working in organizations that are very dependent on project management and scheduling, we have resources that are working on projects, multiple projects. And sometimes it's difficult for the resources to keep track of everything. So this is a great way to say, okay, I've got this project management, I think it's project management plan is the name of the project, and I've got these tasks to do on it. And I've got this project name is called Project Rollout, and I've got these tasks. And I have them actually broken out for things that are in progress in the current period, happening in the near future, and in the distant future. But you can see for each category, I've got a list of my projects with my tasks that I have to do on them. So I don't care about anybody else's tasks in this view. This is just mine. And what's really nice about this is I can actually submit my task status to my manager. So I can say, okay, yep, I finished that. That's 100% complete. I worked on it for 8 hours, what have you. I can enter that actual amount and submit it to my manager for review. And then that's where, as a project manager, my manager can say, okay, yep, that's correct, I accept that, and those changes are made automatically to my project schedule. But keep in mind, the project manager has to accept that. So team members or resources can't make changes to that project schedule unless a project manager approves those changes. In addition to the tasks view, again, that was just my tasks. It actually used to be called my tasks in previous versions, and I missed that because sometimes people will ask me, well, how come I can't see everybody else's task here? And it's because these are your tasks. If you want to see every task, then you go under projects, and you can drill down into the individual project to see all of the tasks. So again, here's my list of projects. If I wanted to see all of the tasks, I would just click on the project name to see all of the tasks. The other thing that's nice about Project Web App is the resource management. And I just want to touch on this for a moment because it's so important in our day-to-day life. Resource management, some of these views will be able to show us which resources are available, which resources are not fully utilized, which ones are overutilized. So again, maybe in a future webinar we'll talk specifically about resource management, but some of the things that we can do as far as reporting and showing our resources are endless in Project Web App. You'll notice when I went to projects, when I saw my list of projects, and then when I drilled down on a specific project, I could see the details. But one other thing I wanted to mention before we wrap up is, in addition to the schedule that we've been focusing on, we also have a view for project details. So project details is a way to manage multiple projects and sort of control some of that basic information. So here we can enter a name and start and finish, my owner, and there's other project departments and custom fields. So if you wanted a way to manage multiple projects, but you want to say, okay, I want to be able to designate this project as an accounting project or as a as a IT project, or this one's an HR project, we can do that as well. There's another option called Project Site, and I just want to touch on this very quickly. The Project Site, I don't even have this one set up that much, but the Project Site is where you spend most of your time collaborating with your team. So here, just very briefly, again, I did nothing with this as far as customizing goes. So this is sort of just out of the box what you would start with. But you can see how easy it is to get started. There's a newsfeed option, a document option. I can share, I have documents that I can share, tasks, calendar, my deliverables, risks, issues. So all of this is customizable. If you say, you know what, I really don't want to track risks, I'm not interested in that at all, we can remove that. Or if you say, you know what, I really want a phone list here, we can add something like that. So it's very, very customizable to your needs. Okay, well, thank you so much, everybody, for your time. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us.